Poor child delivers letter at wake and millionaire discovers her husband faked his death. Jessica Parker wept quietly as dozens of elegantly dressed guests passed by the sealed casket, offering condolences. Her husband, Michael Anderson, had passed suddenly after an accident, leaving her a widow at 32. That's when a thin child in tattered clothes and bare feet came running through the luxurious funeral home hall. The boy clutched a crumpled letter and headed straight for her. "Are you Mr. Michael's wife?" the boy asked breathlessly. Jessica lifted her black veil and looked at the child, who couldn't have been more than 10. "How did he know Michael?" "Yes, that's me. Who are you?" "I was told to give this to you. The man said it was very important," the boy replied, holding out the letter with trembling hands. Jessica took the paper and immediately recognized the handwriting. Her heart nearly stopped as she read the first words. "Forgive me, Jess, but I had to disappear." A scream escaped her throat before she could stop it. "This is Michael's writing," she exclaimed, causing everyone to turn toward her. Silence filled the room. Mrs. Barbara, Jessica's mother-in-law, rushed over. "What are you saying, dear? You're in shock." "No, Mrs. Barbara, look here." Jessica showed her the letter, hands shaking. "I'd know this handwriting anywhere. It's Michael's." Dr. Thompson, the family lawyer, quickly intervened. "Jessica, you're very distraught. These things happen in moments of intense grief. Let's stay calm." "No," she insisted. "Boy, who gave you this letter?" Frightened by the commotion, the child whispered, "A man, Ma'am. He had a scar on his chin, just like in that picture over there." He pointed to a portrait of Michael on the condolence table. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now, back to the story. Mrs. Barbara paled. She had known that scar since Michael was a child. "Jessica, this is impossible. My son is—" Her voice broke. "Then open the casket," Jessica demanded, standing abruptly. "We can't do that," Dr. Thompson interjected. "There are legal procedures. The casket was sealed for public health reasons after the accident." Amanda, Jessica's best friend since childhood, stepped closer. "Jess, sweetheart, you need to calm down. I know it's hard to accept, but—" "Amanda, you don't understand." Jessica read from the letter again. "Here he talks about our argument last Thursday. No one else knew about that." The previous Thursday, Jessica and Michael had argued about having children. She wanted them desperately, but he kept putting it off, saying the timing wasn't right. "And here," she continued reading, "he says he loves me more than anything, but that he's not the man I deserve." Amanda lowered her gaze. There was something she hadn't told her friend. "Jess, I need to tell you something. Michael came to me last week." "What do you mean he came to you?" "He needed to borrow money, said it was urgent, but couldn't tell you why." Jessica's legs nearly gave way. Michael had never hidden financial troubles from her before. "How much?" $50,000. He promised to pay it back in a month. Dr. Thompson cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Since we're discussing finances, I should mention there are urgent documents regarding Michael's company." "What kind of documents?" "Bank transfers he made in recent weeks, large sums to accounts we don't recognize." Jessica felt more lost than ever. The husband she knew had always been transparent with her. "Boy," she called to the child again, "what did this man look like? Describe everything you remember." "He was tall, had dark hair, and spoke softly. He wore a simple t-shirt and seemed sad. He said he'd known you since you were little." Michael had indeed known Jessica since childhood. They'd grown up in the same neighborhood, though his family had been better off. "Did he say anything else?" "That you'd understand once you read the whole letter, and that—" The boy hesitated. "Please tell me." "That he wasn't brave enough to explain it in person." Mrs. Barbara held Jessica's arm. "Sweetheart, I know this is hard to accept, but my Michael was always a responsible boy. If he were alive, he'd never put us in a situation like this." "Mrs. Barbara, with all due respect, your son has been acting very strange these past few weeks, and I suspected something was off." Everyone looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean you suspected?" "He was getting calls in the middle of the night. When I asked who it was, he said it was company business." Dr. Thompson mentally noted each new detail. "Jessica, I'll need to review some contracts and company documents. Can we do that tomorrow?" "No, I want to see everything now. If my husband faked his own death, I need to know why. That's a very serious accusation, the lawyer cautioned. And this letter is very serious proof too. Amanda gathered her courage and revealed one more thing. Jess, there's something else. Last week I saw Michael in Chinatown talking to a woman. What woman? I couldn't see her clearly, but she seemed older. They were in a bakery and looked like they were arguing about something important. Jessica's heart tightened. Was there someone else in Michael's life? Let's go home, she decided. I want to go through everything in his office. Jess, the wake isn't over yet, Amanda reminded her. What wake? If my husband might be alive, what wake are we even having? Dr. Thompson tried to mediate. Jessica, even if there are doubts, we can't just cancel a wake. There are procedures. Then go on without me. I'm going after the truth. Mrs. Barbara chose to go with her daughter-in-law. I'll come with you. If my son did something reckless, I need to know too. On the way to the mansion in New York City's upscale neighborhood, Jessica reread the letter several times. Every word confirmed it was truly from Michael. Jess, my love, I know you'll never forgive me for what I'm doing, but I've discovered things about my family that change everything. I can't keep living this lie. When you learn the truth, you'll understand I don't deserve you or the life we've built. Mrs. Barbara, what did your husband do before he built the company? Why do you ask, dear? Michael writes here about family secrets that changed everything. Mrs. Barbara grew thoughtful. My husband was always very private about the past. He said what mattered was the present we'd built together. When they arrived at the mansion, Jessica went straight to Michael's office, a space he'd considered sacred, where no one entered without permission. On the computer, she found files she'd never seen before, spreadsheets with unfamiliar names and monthly transfers to a bank account. Mrs. Barbara, do you know someone named Robert Coleman? No, I've never heard that name. Michael had been transferring $5,000 a month to this person for the past 2 years. Digging deeper, she found a hidden folder labeled Father's Unfinished Business. Inside were dozens of documents about a construction company she'd never heard of. Did you know your husband owned a construction company before our current business? No, he never told me about that. Jessica opened one document that left her breathless, a lawsuit where Robert Coleman's family accused Michael's father's company of failing to pay for a school they'd built in 1985. Mrs. Barbara, look at this. Your husband owed money to a lot of people and never paid it back. That can't be right. My husband was an honest man. The problem is that Michael found out and was secretly trying to pay off his father's debts. Everything was starting to make sense. The mysterious transfers, the money borrowed from Amanda, the late-night calls. Michael had discovered that the family fortune was built on unpaid debts and was trying to fix it all by himself. The home phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Jessica, this is Robert Coleman. I received this month's transfer, but I wanted to speak with you in person. Jessica nearly dropped the phone. Mr. Robert, what do you know about my husband? Michael is a man of his word. 2 years ago, he showed up at my house apologizing for what his father did to me. And what did his father do? In 1985, I built a school for his company. When I finished the job, he just disappeared without paying. I lost my home, my family almost starved. And Michael was paying off the debt. Every month without fail, he said he couldn't live knowing his family had hurt mine. Jessica began to grasp the scale of the problem. Mr. Robert, how much is left to settle the debt? With all the interest over the years, it's still about $200,000. It was a lot of money, more than Michael could have paid without her noticing. Do you know where he is? I haven't heard from him in 3 days. It's a long story, Mr. Robert. Can I come see you tomorrow to talk in person? After the call, Jessica sat in Michael's armchair, trying to process everything. Her husband had discovered the family's wealth was built on dishonesty and had tried to fix it alone, without dragging her into it. But why fake his own departure? Why not talk to her? The answer came when she found more documents in the locked desk drawer. The key was hidden behind their honeymoon photo frame. They were letters, dozens of letters Michael had written to her over the years, but never sent. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now back to the story. Jess, I love you more than my own life, but how can I give you children knowing they'd grow up with dirty money? Today I found out my father hurt at least 15 families. How can I look you in the eye knowing this? You deserve a man of integrity, someone who can give you a clean life. I'm not that man. The letters were dated over the years, showing Michael had carried this burden for a long time. Mrs. Barbara cried beside her. I had no idea, dear. If I'd known, I would have helped him fix it. He was protecting all of us, Mrs. Barbara, but he ended up alone with a problem too big to carry by himself. Jessica's phone rang. It was the boy who had delivered the letter. Ma'am, the man wants to meet you. Where is he? In Williamsburg, at a school that helps underprivileged kids. He said he'll wait for you there until midnight. Jessica checked the clock. It was 10 at night. Mrs. Barbara, I'm going to see your son. I'll come with you. No, I need to talk to him alone first. We have a lot to sort out. The school was on a simple street in Williamsburg. Jessica had never been there before, but the doorman recognized her. You're Michael's wife, right? He's in the kitchen helping prepare dinner for the kids. Jessica walked down the plain hallway until she reached the kitchen, and there he was. Michael wore a worn-out apron and was peeling potatoes at an old wooden table. He was unrecognizable with his unshaven beard and simple clothes. When he saw her, the peeler slipped from his hands. Jess, Michael Anderson, you have a lot to explain to me. They looked at each other in silence for a few seconds that felt like an eternity. How did you find me? I got your letter, and I discovered a lot of other things too. Michael lowered his head. I know you'll never forgive me for what I did. First, explain why you did it. They left the kitchen and sat on a bench in the schoolyard. Jess, I found out our money isn't clean. My father built our fortune by hurting many families. I know. I found the documents. You did. And I spoke with Mr. Robert Coleman, too. Michael sighed in relief. So you know I was trying to fix my father's mistakes. I do. But I don't understand why you didn't talk to me about it. Because you don't deserve to carry that weight. You're pure, Jess. You grew up in an honest family, worked hard for everything. How could I tell you you were married to a thief's son? Michael, you're not your father. But I've lived my whole life with stolen money. Our house, our cars, our company, all of it was built on other people's suffering. Jessica held his hands. And that's why you decided to fake your own death. I found out the debts were much bigger than I thought. It wasn't just 15 families, it was over 100. When I added it all up, it came to almost $2 million. The number shocked Jessica. 2 million. I tried selling some properties without you knowing, but even that wouldn't be enough. And there's one more thing. What? I had some medical tests done a few months ago. I found out I'm sterile. I'll never be able to give you the children you've always wanted. Jessica felt her heart tighten. All the puzzle pieces were falling into place. Is that why you always avoided the subject? How could I tell you that not only am I a thief's son, but I also can't give you children? You deserve so much more. And your solution was to abandon me. My solution was to disappear, so you could rebuild your life with someone better. I left everything in your name. At least you'd have what was left. Jessica stood up angrily. Michael, you're selfish. Selfish. You decided alone what was best for me. You didn't give me the right to choose whether I wanted to face these problems with you. Jess, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. She raised her voice. I love you, Michael. I've loved you since I was 15. Do you think I'd abandon you because of your father's mistakes? But the money we can earn again. What we can't get back is lost trust. Michael began to cry. I thought I was protecting you. You were running from the responsibility of trusting me. They stayed silent for a few minutes. Michael, what are you doing here at this school? I started volunteering 2 months ago. I help in the kitchen, teach math to the older kids, trying to make up for some of the harm my family caused. And how did you arrange this whole act? I paid a doctor to fake a death certificate, bought a coffin and filled it with sandbags. My brother helped me with some details. Your brother knew? Daniel is the only one who knew the whole plan. He tried to convince me to talk to you, but I was set on it. And the child who delivered the letter? That's Tyler. He goes to school here. I asked him to deliver the letter because I knew you'd want to talk to him. Jessica looked around the school. It was a simple place, but well kept. It was clear it really helped many struggling families. How many kids go here? 250. They come from families who can't afford private school, but want a better education for their children. And how does the school stay open? Donations from individuals and some companies. But it's always in need of funds. An idea began forming in Jessica's mind. Michael, I have a proposal for you. What proposal? Instead of running from your family's problems, what if we used our situation to do some good? How so? Let's sell the mansion, the imported cars, the jewelry. We'll use that money to pay off your father's debts and still have enough left to help places like this school. Michael looked at her, surprised. Jess, you don't know what you're saying. It would mean giving up everything we have. So what? We'll rebuild our lives, but this time on honest foundations. You'd give up our home? It's not really ours if it was bought with dirty money. I'd rather live in a small apartment knowing it's clean. What about the company? The company was built with our hard work over the last 10 years. That we keep. Michael held her hands. You'd do this for me? No, Michael. I'd do it for us, so we can have a life without secrets. What if I can never give you children? There are other ways to be a mother. We can adopt, try treatments, or simply accept that our family will be different than we planned. You won't regret it. I'll regret it if you hide things from me again. We're a couple, Michael. One's problems belong to both of us. Just then, Tyler appeared in the courtyard. Uncle Michael, Aunt Margaret is asking if you'd like to see the school. Who's Aunt Margaret? She's the principal, an amazing woman who's devoted her life to these kids. Jessica followed Tyler through the school's halls. On the walls, colorful drawings by the children told their stories and dreams. In the principal's office, a woman in her 50s with graying hair and a warm smile waited for them. You must be Michael's wife. I'm Margaret Wilson. Pleasure to meet you, Margaret. Michael told me you care for many children here. We try to do our part. Michael has been a blessing to us these past few months. How so? Besides volunteering, he's used his own money to buy school supplies and food for the kids. I've never seen anyone so dedicated. Jessica looked at Michael, who was flushed with embarrassment. He never told me about this. Your husband is very modest. Last month he paid for dental treatments for 5 children with serious issues. With what money? He sold his watch and some other personal items. Jessica remembered noticing Michael's watch missing weeks earlier, but he'd said it was being repaired. Margaret, can I ask you something? How much do you need each month to keep the school running? To cover basic expenses, about $15,000. To make improvements and expand, at least $30,000. Jessica did the math in her head. Selling their assets could fund the school for years. And if you had resources to expand, what would you do? Oh, we have so many dreams. We could serve 500 children, create vocational workshops for teens, offer basic medical and psychological care. How much would you need for that? We'd have to renovate the abandoned building next door. With about $200,000, we could do it all. Jessica turned to Michael. What if we turned our mansion into an extension of this school? How so? Our house has 8 bedrooms, a library, a pool, a tennis court. Imagine how many kids could benefit from that space. Margaret nearly fell out of her chair. Are you serious? I'm thinking out loud, but why not? Instead of selling the house and splitting the money, what if we made it an educational center? Michael began grasping the scale of her proposal. Jess, that would be incredible, but are you sure? I'm certain I want a life with purpose, and I know no greater purpose than educating children. Margaret Wilson was moved. But you'd have to leave your home. We'll move to a smaller, more suitable place for a couple. The mansion would be far more useful serving the children. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, Michael Anderson took Jessica Parker's hands. "You'd really do this?" "Michael, for the first time in months, I see your eyes shining. This work with the children does you good. Why don't we continue together? But what about my father's debts? We'll pay them off by selling the cars, jewelry, and other assets. Whatever's left, we'll invest in the school. And our company? Our company stays. In fact, it might even grow because we'll have more motivation to work, knowing part of the profits will go toward a noble cause." Margaret interrupted the conversation. "Sorry, but I need to understand better. Are you really proposing to donate a mansion to turn it into a school?" "Not exactly donate," Jessica explained. "We're proposing a partnership. The house would be registered under a foundation we'd create, and the foundation's resources would support both this school and the extension at our home." "And where would you live?" "We'll buy a smaller, more practical apartment. I always thought our house was too big for just the two of us anyway." Michael was visibly emotional. "Jess, you have no idea how much this would mean to those children. And to us too, Michael. Imagine how beautiful it would be to come home and find children playing in the garden, studying in the library, learning to swim in the pool." "Have you ever thought about having children of your own?" Margaret asked. Jessica and Michael exchanged glances. It was a delicate subject, but one they needed to face. "We've been trying for a while," Jessica replied, "but if we can't have biological children, we'll have 250 children to care for." "Actually, 500, if we manage to expand," Michael added. Margaret began to cry. "In 20 years of running this school, I've never seen such a generous proposal." "Margaret, the proposal will only work if you agree to oversee the entire project. We don't understand education. You'd entrust the management of everything to me?" "Michael told me you've dedicated your life to these children. If there's anyone we can trust, it's you." The following weeks were intense. Michael officially came back to life, explaining to the authorities that he'd had an emotional breakdown and faked everything. Dr. Thompson helped resolve all the legal matters. Mrs. Barbara, despite her initial shock, fully supported the couple's decision. "I always knew my son had a good heart," she said. "He just needed direction." Daniel, Michael's brother, confessed to feeling guilty for taking part in the act. "I tried to convince him to talk to you, Jess, but he was determined it was the best solution. What matters is that everything worked out, Daniel." The sale of their assets went faster than they'd imagined. Amanda helped Jessica organize an auction for the luxury items. "Friend, are you sure you won't regret this?" Amanda kept asking. "I've never felt so sure about a decision in my life." "And Michael?" "Michael is happier than ever. Yesterday he came home telling me he taught Tyler math, and the boy finally understood fractions. You two have really changed so much. Changed for the better, Amanda. Before we had a lot of money but lived with secrets. Now we have less money but a much richer life." The process of paying off Michael's father's debts took 3 months. Every family they contacted was surprised to learn someone still cared about decades-old debts. Robert Coleman was one of the most moved. "Your husband had already paid more than half of what my father owed me," he told Jessica. "But knowing that you cared to settle everything, that's priceless. Mr. Robert, we'd like to invite you to see the school project. Maybe you could help us too." "How so?" "You still work in construction, right? We need to renovate some spaces at the school. It would be an honor to help you after so much generosity." The mansion's renovation to adapt it for educational needs took 4 months. The library became a study room for 60 children. The dining room turned into a community cafeteria. The bedrooms became themed classrooms. The pool remained a pool, but now offered swimming lessons for kids who had never had the chance. The tennis court became a multi-sport court where children could play volleyball, basketball, and soccer. Tyler, the boy who had delivered the letter at the funeral, became a kind of ambassador for the project. "Aunt Jessica, can I ask you something?" he said one day. "Of course, Tyler. Why did you do all this?" "Because we discovered that true happiness doesn't come from what we have, but from what we do for others." "And you don't miss the big house?" "You know what's funny? Our apartment is much smaller, but I feel much more at home there than in the mansion." "Why?" "Because now our home was built with money we earned honestly, And when we come here and see all of you studying and playing, we know we made the right choice. Michael had become an official teacher at the school, giving math and business classes to high school students. Jess, did you know 3 of our students already got into business school? Really? Tyler wants to study economics. He said he learned to like numbers after I started teaching him. And Margaret, how is she handling all this growth? She's radiant. Yesterday she told me she never imagined she'd one day offer full high school education for the kids. Have you thought about adding vocational courses too? We've talked about it. What if we turn the mansion's garage into a woodworking shop? And the backyard into a community garden? Jess, you always have such ideas. What if we create a program where the kids' mothers can also study? Many of them dropped out very early. That would be amazing. We could offer evening classes after the kids go home. The project grew every month. Soon they needed to hire more teachers and staff. The original school in Williamsburg became an early childhood and elementary education center. The transformed mansion served high school and vocational courses. 6 months after Michael's resurrection, Jessica had a routine checkup and discovered something unexpected. Michael, I need to tell you something important. What is it? Are you okay? I'm pregnant. Michael nearly fainted. What? But the doctor said I was sterile. Michael, remember when I told you about other possibilities? Well, medicine has advanced a lot. There's a new treatment that can help men with fertility issues. And you did the treatment without telling me? I did. I wanted to surprise you. Jess, this is a miracle. It's life's reward for making the right choices. The news of Jessica's pregnancy spread quickly through the school. The kids were thrilled at the idea of having a little brother or little sister to care for. Aunt Jessica, if it's a boy, will you name him Tyler? Asked the boy who had delivered the letter. Why do you want it to be Tyler? Because it was because of me that you two found each other again. If I hadn't delivered the letter, Uncle Michael would still be hiding. Tyler, you're right. If it's a boy, we'll give him your name. Mrs. Barbara was over the moon with the news that she would be a grandmother. Jessica, my little grandson will grow up in such a special environment, surrounded by other children, learning the value of generosity from an early age. Mrs. Barbara, our son will understand from a young age that true happiness lies in helping others, and he'll know the story of how his parents found each other again through a letter delivered by a brave child. The official opening of the educational center was scheduled for the first anniversary of Michael's return. Dozens of families benefiting from the project attended the celebration. Robert Coleman gave an emotional speech. 35 years ago, I lost everything because of an injustice. But today I'm here seeing that children don't always pay for their parents' mistakes. Michael and Jessica turned a story of pain into one of hope. Amanda, who had become the project's godmother, also spoke. When my friend told me she was giving up everything to start a school, I thought she'd lost her mind. Today, I understand she had actually found clarity. Dr. Thompson, who now handled all the foundation's legal matters pro bono, made sure to say, "In 40 years of practicing law, I've never seen such a beautiful story of transformation. Michael and Jessica proved it's possible to turn a past mistake into a future legacy." Margaret, as the project's general director, gave the closing speech. A year ago, I ran a small school with 250 children and many limitations. Today, I oversee an educational center serving over 500 families and offering opportunities these children never dreamed of having. All because one couple decided they'd rather be happy than just rich. At the end of the party, Jessica and Michael sat on a bench in the garden of the old mansion, now transformed into the school's courtyard. Michael, do you regret anything? I regret trying to handle everything alone. If I'd talked to you from the start, we wouldn't have gone through all that suffering. And I regret not realizing you were carrying that burden. As your wife, I should have noticed. But in the end, it all worked out, didn't it? More than worked out. It turned out perfect. They watched the children playing in the garden that once belonged only to them. Jess, will our son grow up here? He'll grow up here and learn from an early age that life gets much better when we share with others. And when he's older, will we tell him the whole story? We'll tell him his father was such a good man that he chose to give up everything to do what was right. And that his mother was so wise, she understood happiness isn't measured in square feet. Tyler approached the couple. "Uncle Michael, can I ask you something?" "Of course, champ." "If you hadn't found each other again, would I still be studying here?" Michael thought for a moment. "I don't know, Tyler. But I know you'd be studying somewhere because you're very smart and determined. But it wouldn't be here, with a pool and a court and a big library, right? Probably not. Then I helped you and you helped us. Everyone won." Jessica smiled. "That's true, Tyler. Everyone won. And when the baby is born, can I help take care of him?" "Of course you can. You'll be like a big brother to him. And if he wants to know why his father disappeared and came back, do I tell the story?" "You tell it. But tell the whole story, okay? Say his dad was wrong to try handling everything alone, but in the end, he chose to do what was right. And that his mom was very brave to forgive and help." Exactly. A few months later, Tyler Anderson Parker was born at a public hospital Jessica had deliberately chosen. "Michael, our son will be born in the same hospital where the children of the families we serve at school are born. Why? Because I want him to breathe the same air as the people we'll help for the rest of his life from his very first day." The delivery went smoothly. Mrs. Barbara was the first to hold her grandson. "Jessica, this boy is going to be very special." "Why are you so sure?" "Because he was born into a family that learned loving is more important than owning." Tyler, the boy from the letter, was the first brother to meet baby Tyler. "Aunt Jessica, he looks just like Uncle Michael." "You think so?" "I do. And I bet when he grows up, he'll be good at math just like his dad." "What if he wants to be a teacher like his dad?" "Then he'll teach at our school, and the school will go on forever." 2 years after the educational center opened, Jessica was in the foundation's office when she got an unexpected call. "Hello, this is the State Department of Education. We'd like to talk about your project." "About what specifically?" "The government wants to use your model as an example for other regions. Could we set up a meeting?" "Of course. But may I ask what caught your attention?" "Your children's educational results are among the best in the state, and the most impressive part is that it was achieved without any public funding. Actually, we use the most valuable resource there is: love for what we do." The meeting with the Department of Education led to a partnership proposal. The government wanted to replicate the model in 5 other cities in New York. "Michael, what do you think of the proposal?" "I think it would be a way to expand the impact of our work." "But wouldn't it be too much responsibility?" "Jess, if someone had told me 2 years ago that I'd be running a school, I'd have said they were crazy. Now I can't imagine doing anything else." "And what does Margaret think?" "She's thrilled. She said she always dreamed of influencing education on a larger scale." The partnership with the government was approved. In 3 years, the model created by Jessica and Michael was operating in 15 different cities. Tyler, the boy from the letter, now a 15-year-old teenager, had become a mentor to the younger students. "Aunt Jessica, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, Tyler." "Next year, I'm applying to study education." "Really? Why?" "Because I want to be a teacher like Uncle Michael. I want to help other kids the way you helped me." "Tyler, you have no idea how happy that makes me. And you know what's even cooler? My mum went back to school here too. She's finishing high school at 40. "That's wonderful." "She said your school didn't just change my life, it changed our whole family's life." On the 5th anniversary of the Educational Center, Jessica organized a special celebration. All the families who had been wronged by Michael's father were invited. Robert Coleman, now the foundation's official contractor, gave an emotional speech. "When Michael's father left me in the lurch 40 years ago, I thought I'd never believe in people's goodness again. Today, seeing everything Michael and Jessica have built, I understand that sometimes God takes his time, but he never fails." During the party, little Tyler Anderson Parker, now 2 years old, ran around the courtyard playing with the other children. "Michael, look at our son. He has no idea he's growing up in a place built by a story of redemption. And when he grows up, He'll understand that the most beautiful life is one dedicated to others. Do you think he'll want to carry on the project when he's older? I don't know, Jess, but I know we'll give him the tools to make his own choices wisely. At that moment, Tyler, the 15-year-old, approached the couple. Uncle Michael, can I tell you something? Of course. Sometimes I find myself thinking, if I hadn't delivered that letter, none of this would have happened. That's true, Tyler. You were the instrument God used to put our lives on the right path. But you know what's most important, the teenager continued. That day, I was just doing a job to earn $10. Today, I understand I was actually part of a miracle. Jessica hugged him. Tyler, you'll always be a special part of our family. And when our little Tyler grows up, you'll tell him how it all began. I'll tell him that sometimes life's greatest blessings come through the smallest people. At the end of the party, when everyone had left, Jessica and Michael sat on the same porch where Tyler had delivered the letter 5 years earlier. Michael, if you could go back in time, would you change anything? I'd change just one thing. I would have talked to you from the start, but deep down, I'm even grateful for everything we went through. Why? Because I needed to hit rock bottom to discover what I'm truly capable of, and to learn that true love is the kind that accepts us with all our mistakes. And I learned that forgiving isn't about forgetting what happened, it's about choosing to build something new from what was broken. Jess, do you think our story could inspire others? I think our story proves it's never too late to start over, and that the biggest mistakes can turn into the greatest blessings. Just then, little Tyler Parker appeared on the porch in his pajamas, looking for his parents. Daddy, Mommy, why aren't you asleep yet? We were talking, sweetheart. About what? About how life is full of wonderful surprises. Can I talk too? Of course, come here. Tyler settled between his parents. Daddy, why is our house a school? Because we realized sharing is so much better than keeping things just for ourselves. And why does Big Tyler always help me? Because he's our guardian angel. He helped Daddy and Mommy find each other when we were lost. When I grow up, will I help kids too? If you want to, sweetheart. But the most important thing is that you always be a good person. How do I be a good person? Michael and Jessica looked at each other, smiled, and answered together. You choose to do what's right, even when it's hard. The end. So, what did you think of this story of transformation and new beginnings? Share your thoughts in the comments about the choices Jessica and Michael made. Would you have the courage to give up a luxurious life to build something more meaningful? We'd love to hear your opinion. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.